Hey everyone, welcome to PunkCast. My name is William Maxwell. I'm a student of Web3 and the owner of Punk8053. Cryptopunks are 10,000 uniquely generated characters stored permanently on the Ethereum blockchain. No punk is the same. This is a show dedicated to celebrating the punks behind the punk. My hope for this podcast is that we capture the essence of the punk culture, elevate the brand and the individual behind the punk. One last thing. Projects discussed on the show is not financial advice. Crypto and NFTs are a volatile and risky asset class. Please always do your own research. Other than that, let's go. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of PunkCast. Today we have Punk8053. He's a Atty with a mustache and highly sought after top hat. He's an NFT connoisseur collecting BAYC Bluebeam set, and also the recipient of the highly coveted Honorary Bored Ape NFT, of which only were issued to 35 people who helped to bring awareness to the collection. Please welcome my brother from another mother, Mr. Evan Tan, to the show. Evan.
Hey, what up, Maxwell? Nice to see you, man. Nice to finally talk to you. It's the first time that I've heard your voice.
I know. It's bizarre, but I mean, like, are you normally hanging out on spaces or anything? Because I don't really hang out on any of those things. Are you normally talking on?
Every once in a while. I mean, during this bear market, there's not a lot of spaces that I actually join. But back when it was very exciting last year, I actually joined a lot of spaces, a lot of Discord stages. I was on Discord a lot, Twitter a lot, basically everywhere, all the time. Now that everything's kind of quiet, I've been like just hunkering down while still holding on to my NFTs that are going down in value.
every day. Mate, I caught up with somebody very close to you last week, Gab, right? So he's told me about the whole Indonesian gang that you got going on over there in the NFT space. So it'd be good to sort of unpack that with you as well.
Sure.
But you've got a strong American accent, I detect. Like, do you grow up in the US or?
I was born and raised in Indonesia, actually. But I went to college in LA. I went to Biola and then I went to LMU. I think I spent about 7 years there. Yeah, 7 years total in LA. That's probably where I got my accent. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And then, and so, like, just out of curiosity, you're back in Jakarta. Are you full-time DJing or are you doing other stuff in real life?
I'm still helping out with the family business. We manufacture furniture and sofas. And so I'm still doing that most of the time while also still involving myself in Web3 initiatives and projects every now and then.
Awesome. All right. Well, maybe we can sort of unpack some of that too. So I guess if you could just share, I guess, a little bit about yourself and go back into your roots and how you sort of found yourself into NFTs and Web3. It'd be interesting to sort of understand and find out.
Yeah, I actually started way back when from crypto and DeFi. So I was in the whole fiasco with the sushi swap drama, and how SBF basically just saved sushi swap. I was kind of like in the midst of all that. I was holding a lot of sushi tokens as it was going up and it was going down and it was back up again. That was kind of like my first exposure to kind of the Web3 space and crypto and the people in it and the friends that I found there too.
And that was in mid 2020, right?
Summer 2020 that was 2020. Yeah, that was mid. I think that was summer 2020. It was right after COVID hit. That was when I first started looking into, I guess, side gigs because everybody was like quarantined at home. And I was so bored. I needed some extra sources of income and more things to do to kind of like unbore myself. So I got into those. I got into crypto and DeFi, and that's where I met a lot of the people that told me about this gigantic project called NBA Top Shot. So those are actually my first like exposure to NFTs. It was NBA Top Shot, Crypto Kitties, and Axie Infinity. just a bunch of random NFTs that were still popping during that time.
Nice. I think I came in about the same time as well. But just talk about Sushi Swap though. Are you still holding Sushi Swap? Because they had a bit of a recent scandal announced last week, right? About the horse and the
I
CEO.
actually left right after I got into Cryptopunks. That was when I left most things DeFi. So I basically liquidated a lot of the
I see.
tokens that I had and moved them all to ETH because I was
Smart.
so excited about NFTs. And that's when I started buying a bunch of NFTs and early on, luckily. So that's how I kind of like made my way into the NFT space, fortunately.
All right. So let's just dig into that then. So when did you first buy your first NFT, and what was it? Was it Top Shots or?
I think NBA Top Shot might have come after. I think my first dabble was actually Crypto Kitties. I think that was
Okay.
also around the same time the Sushi Swap debacle. Probably around summer of 2020 as well.
Mm.
Um, I can probably check my OpenSea and kind of look at because I still have the same exact wallet that I've had since then. So my first NFT is probably going to be around July or August of 2020. And that would
All right.
probably be around the CryptoKitties and Axie Infinity NFTs.
Nice. And so like, talk to me about that. I mean, how did you sort of find your way in? I mean, you went from Sushi Swap, DeFi, and mingled with the community there. Where were they hanging out? Did they have? I'm assuming it was Telegram, or I'm assuming they weren't, on Discord yet. Then, right?
Yeah, they were in a bunch of places. They were on Twitter, they were on Telegram, they were also on Discord actually. So there
Oh,
were
okay.
a bunch of different communities that were hanging out all over the place. Um, and I was looking for some entertainment. That's why my first few NFTs are actually things to do with games and like gamification, right? And Axie
Mm.
Infinity during that time, it was quite revolutionary. The idea that you can earn something out of playing a game was pretty mind blowing to me. So I decided to just check it out. So I played that game for like about a month and kind of got bored. That's how I moved on to NBA Top Shot. So I tried these NFTs and then CryptoKitties, same thing. I mean, I tried playing that for a while, but then I got bored. And on top of that, gas was kind of like slowly going up. So I didn't want to spend hundreds of dollars just to breed kitties. So
Mm.
that's when I moved over to NBA Top Shot because I'm like, I love basketball, I love the NBA, and now there's this new collectible that I can collect all the way from Indonesia, and I just jumped ship over to that
Nice.
region of the NFT space.
And was there sort of any friction for you to understand NFTs, or when you came across it, it was just easy to get a handle of?
The biggest friction for me was actually jumping onto DeFi for the first time because that was when I first installed MetaMask and kind of like learned what liquidity pools are, how to participate in that, what yields are, what yield farming is, and so that was a big like education moment for me. So after that, going into NFTs was kind of like a pretty seamless, smooth transition because I already knew the technology behind it. It was only a matter of understanding how NFTs are different from just tokens in general. Um, so it was a pretty easy transition for me.
Mm. So you got into Top Shots, and when did your was it sort of a side hobby at that time, or when did your interest in NFTs really start kicking off?
NBA Top Shot really kicked it off for the first time for me because I didn't know that the value was going to keep going up at that point. Because before NBA Top Shot, I didn't know that NFTs were going to be something that I could really make a living in. Because before that, my CryptoKitties they're just stagnant, and my Axies are like not generating any income or are not enough income to make me feel like, oh, it's going to change my life. But when I got into NBA Top Shot, it was during peak hype. I think it was end of 2020 towards the early days of 2021 where NBA Top Shot started picking up steam. And then every single pack drop, everybody was queuing up. Most people don't actually get the packs because there are just like 10 times more people queuing up and there are packs available. So it was easy to kind of like flip and make money off it. And the more I did it, the more I realized, wow, you can actually make decent money. Like you can make a living just by queuing up on pack drops and then selling the moments afterwards. Yeah.
So Evan, maybe just for everybody, could you just explain what NBA Top Shots and the mechanism behind the packs work?
Sure. So NBA Top Shots, it's kind of like trading cards back when people used to trade sports cards, like different athletes and different basketball players or baseball players that are on cards. But with NBA Top Shots, instead of cards, they're using digital highlights, highlight reels of specific players or specific moments. That's why they call them moments. Specific moments in like NBA history. And usually these are moments during recent games of that season. And so, for example, if you can collect something like a LeBron James dunk, or you can collect something like a Steph Curry three-pointer, and you would see the video on the moment. And so you're not exactly just collecting the player, but you're collecting what that player did during that specific season, and that's in that specific game as well. And so the more monumental the event is, like, for example, I think they had, who was that? Somebody, Vince Carter. Yeah, Vince Carter had like his last three-pointer ever in his career. That became a moment. And so for someone that actually loves Vince Carter, and you know that, wow, this value could actually appreciate over time once people appreciate NBA Top Shot, you see that as a valuable moment. And so you invest in that, thinking that one day there are going to be something, a bigger mass adoption that would increase the value of this specific moment. So that's what drew me in. It's like, oh, this is pretty exciting. Because back when I was in LA, I was able to attend games and like buy memorabilia and like souvenirs and a bunch of random stuff from games. But now that I'm back in Indo, I can't do that anymore. You know, there's no way for me to participate in the collecting and like the enjoyment of the game other than just watching it through online streaming. And so this kind of like added extra value for me as an NBA fan to kind of collect something. So that's what drew me in initially.
Yeah, I remember that that pump. So I had to sign in through VPN because, like you, I think Hong Kong was not a registered country that where you can access NBA Top Shots, and I had to line up at like ungodly hours to access some of the pack drops. So I do remember that sort of crazy sort of phase. But maybe if you could help people understand, I guess, the magnitude of, how much was a pack, how many cards, how many sort of moments did you get per pack, and then, what were some of the crazy prices that we sort of saw in the bull run as well.
So the cheapest pack I think during that time was about $10, and then the more premium packs could go up towards like 250 or 500, and some of the really expensive packs that would be ultimate. I forgot what they're called. I think the holo packs, they could go up to $1,000. And a lot of these moments, they're divided into tiers, right? And inside the hologram packs, you would get the holo moments, and then inside the rare packs, you would get the rare moments. And depending on which rare moments you get, the value could differ. You know, if you get like a rare LeBron James as opposed to getting like a rare Spencer Dinwiddie, the LeBron James rare moment during that time, it could go up to like $2,000, $3,000 that moment alone when you got the pack for like $250. So a single moment inside the pack, which consists of usually 3 to 5 to maybe 7 moments inside, one of those moments could actually not only make you break even on the pack that you paid for, but could just 10x whatever you paid for the pack while keeping basically the rest of the moments for free. And you could still get a bunch of rare stuff in those other 6 moments too. And so the magnitude of the profitability of these packs are just gigantic. That's why people were lining up. People thought of it as instant profit. As long as you get the pack, there's no way that you don't profit from it. There's definitely 100% chance that you at least break even But more likely than not, you're probably going to profit a lot from it.
Yeah, it was insane. And so did you go out and buy a Lamborghini during that time, cash out and buy a Lambo?
I didn't. That's the thing about Top Shot. Here's the other catch that people didn't know about. During the early days, Top Shot didn't actually allow you to withdraw your funds
That's
outside of
right.
Top Shot. So that was
That's
like the
right.
big, huge catch for a lot of people. That was probably the only thing that's driving the value of all these moments, right? People were like so rich on paper, but that paper is like locked inside like the Top Shot company headquarters. And so people were kind of forced and encouraged to re-spend that money that they've earned again on like more moments. And so because of that, it became this huge bull run in Top Shot because nobody was withdrawing any funds, and everybody that earned anything out of it will pour that money back in. And then everyone that deposited funds inside, they couldn't withdraw those funds either. And so money could go in, but they couldn't get out. So that was probably one of the biggest reasons why all of the moments just went up in value, and this euphoria of we couldn't lose money here. That was probably the first sign that, man, this is not going to end well.
Yeah, it was a crazy time. Peyton, can you because I got into NBA Top Shots as well, but I never really hung out with the community there. But could you just help me understand what the community vibes were like, and where did you guys hang out? And I guess the other question too is, was it that specific DeFi community that migrated across and almost like graduated with you into NBA Top Shots?
Some of them actually graduated into 10BA Top Shot from DeFi, but I think a lot of the Top Shot users and collectors are actually new people
Mm,
that did not know crypto before. I think what Top Shot did really well back then was making it so seamless for people to not feel like, oh, I'm collecting an NFT. This is a new technology that I have to learn. So they make it so easy. The user interface is very, very easy to understand. So even for those people that don't really understand, like cryptocurrencies or Web3 or NFTs or even a MetaMask, they would still be able to understand Top Shot really well because you register with like your Gmail account, and then you would immediately get registered onto their blockchain, which is Flow, um, and they would just assign a wallet for you. And you don't even at that point you don't even know what your wallet address is. All you
mm.
know is that this is my Gmail account. I'm registering with my Gmail account, and I'll have moments inside. So I think I would say, based on a hunch, I think like about 80% of them are new people and non crypto and non Web3 people. And then about 20% are people that graduated from either other NFTs or other crypto or DeFi projects.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
And where did you guys hang out? Was it in Discord? Like, were you tight with the NBA Top Shots community there?
Yeah, on Discord and on Twitter. Those are
Yeah.
actually the place that I met a lot of my earliest friends in NFTs. And the NBA Top Shot people were actually the ones that actually told me about Cryptopunks. And that's when I first bought my first punk
Oh,
because of NBA
nice.
Top Shot. Yeah.
Well, let's unpack that in a moment. But I just want to understand what the community vibes were and who was actually in that community. Because I've got a hunch, but I'd like to, because even when I look at and we can talk about the honorary board NFTs that the Board Ape Yacht Club sent to everybody, but I'm assuming a few of them are from that NBA Top Shot vintage too, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So who was actually who was actually in there at that time and then transitioned? I guess I want to try and understand the transition from NBA Top Shots because I sort of feel like there's a lot of Bored Apes that came from NBA Top Shots, right? Um, so was yeah, who was there with you at the time? Was it anybody notable?
I think a lot of people that went to NFTs after NBA Top Shot, only a few of them are still around today. So they were looking at the hype during that time and they transitioned to NFTs, but they didn't
Mm,
stay for too long. I was hanging out with people like Girl Dad. He was pretty prominent early on. He got an honorary, I think he got an honorary Bored Ape as well, and he he was pretty hyped up about NBA Top Shot. He was one of the biggest collectors there. Um, even I mean, Gary Vee even was talking about Top Shot all the time. And we still don't know what his actual account on the NBA Top Shot is, but he probably has a lot of moments because he wasn't able to stop talking about it all the time. And he was talking about everything. He was talking about NBA Top Shot. He was talking about NFTs. He was talking about Cryptopunks. And then eventually he actually talked about BAYC as well. And so um, those are probably like one of the more prominent people. That was in Top Shot and are still in NFTs.
I see. So a few names that come to my mind was like Tropo Farmer, LeBron James, all those Bored Apes just feels like they're all NBA Top Shots vibes, right? So
and Pranksy, I forgot to mention Pranksy was huge. Yeah, he basically bought one of the most packs ever early on. He was one of the OGs. He came in, I think, like 2 or 3 months before I did.
Of course he was.
And bought a bunch of packs for like $10, and each of those moments inside those packs end up worth I think like 3 to 5K each during that point. And so he profited a lot from NBA Top Shot. So yeah, that's a big huge example of someone that went from NBA Top Shot to becoming like this mega star in the NFT space.
That's crazy. That would have been nice if I got in that early, man. Like, geez. and then so then you got into NBA Top Shots, and then you migrated across to the CryptoPunks. Like, talk about that story. How did you first hear about CryptoPunks, and how did you get into the ecosystem?
Yeah. So back during the NBA Top Shot days, I was following a lot of NBA Top Shot influencers, and I was listening to a lot of podcasts. I was listening to a lot of YouTube videos, and one of the guys that was I forgot exactly like what the YouTube channel was, but Jack Settlement. I don't know if you're familiar with Jack Settlement.
No.
He was a huge NBA Top Shot guy. And then he was also doing this like YouTube channel on NBA Top Shot. And then one day he decided to just buy a CryptoPunk. And then he was talking about a CryptoPunk in the NBA Top Shot channel. So I was listening to it. And that kind of like got me curious. Like, what is this? What is this NFT? Like, I got into NFTs like earlier than this guy did. You know, I bought Axies and CryptoKitties back then, but I didn't know that NFTs are they could be profile pictures, you know, because back then I didn't think of NFTs in that way. I thought of NFTs as just like a token that you use to play a game. So my understanding of NFTs were actually very limited before this, and then this kind of like opened my eyes. Like, wow, you can actually have digital artworks and profile pictures. So yeah, it was actually Jack Settlement when he bought that red-haired punk early on, and then I looked into it and like, oh wow, this is pretty interesting. And then since I had like leftover ETH during that time, that I bought all the way from like 2017, I'm like, sure, might as well. You know, I got my ETH cheap, might as well just try it out and see what happens. And then I bought a punk and changed my PFP to like a CryptoPunk. And then I realized my follower count and my engagement just like went like through the roof. Like, wow, what is this miracle? What is this magic? I didn't know that before. And so that was the first time that I realized, wow, this thing is so powerful. It's just a PFP change, and I told people that I bought it, and then all of a sudden, wow, I'm a celebrity now. So that was the big like aha moment for me.
And when was that, Evan? Like how long ago was that?
I think this was February of 2021.
Yeah, that's early. And what do you remember what punk it was? It's not the one that you have now, right?
No, I think I got a Fedora punk. It was slightly above floor. I think the floor of CryptoPunks was around 4 ETH, and I got mine at 9.
Nice. That's super early.
Yep. And I sold it the next day. That's what really got me addicted. I sold it. I think I sold it the next day for like 15, and I'm like, what? I didn't know you could make that much money in a short period of time. That's when it really hooked me in. Like, wow, I could actually make a living out of this, and from that point on, I just kept trading punks over and over again. And that's how I kind of grew my capital early on to kind of like invest more into the NFT space. And it felt more natural for me from that point on, because I never really made that much money through NFTs before CryptoPunks. Everything else was kind of like either stagnant or a loss. So that kind of like opened my eyes to how NFTs could actually be a career.
Crazy insane. And then and so you started flipping punks. And we'll get back to your specific punk right now because it's a really cool one. But at what point did you get into Bored Apes?
Bored Apes, I got it early, actually, because of the NBA Top Shot friends I had too. They discovered Bored Apes, and I looked into the project. And during that time, they weren't selling out. When I minted Bored Apes, only about 200 of them or 300 of them were minted. And this mint was already live. So it's not like they're just doing a pre-sale for like a few specific people, but it was live and nobody was minting. So there were only 300 of them. I decided, okay, sure, I'll just mint like a couple. So I minted 6 of them early on at like 0.08, and then didn't really think much about it. And like, okay, maybe it will be cool, maybe it won't be. But then as soon as I talked more about it on Twitter, people started engaging, and I told them, hey, this is pretty cool. And then I think I got into a conversation with who was that? The Avastars founder,
Jimmy.
You remember Jimmy? Yeah, I was talking to Jimmy about it on Twitter, and then he was telling me about how Avastars are better and how they're the best thing ever that are in NFTs. And I told him, dude, this is pretty cool. You know, Avastars are cool, but this is also really cool. It doesn't have to be like a dog eat dog world where only one person wins. And then I managed to convince him to kind of buy into BAYC, and then he decided to convince Pranksy to buy BAYC as well, and that's where everything kind of like snowballed, and Pranksy decided to just mint like 1,300 of them. I think Jimmy minted about 500 of them, and so them both, they almost minted 2,000, which is like 20% of the entire supply. And I think that's when people started FOMO in, and then I minted 6 more. So after the initial 6 that I minted 6 more, which I probably should have minted way more than that. But that was where the FOMO came in, and that's when I really got into BOIC.
That's insane.
Yeah, unfortunately, I sold most of them early.
Profit's profit, Evan. Mate, what was the so interesting, because I've never heard this story before. Like, what was the narrative around BAYC? Like, what were you telling Jimmy, like he should be buying BAYC? Like, what was the and I guess what was the narrative from the NBA Top Shots community to you to get you to mint?
I think one of the biggest thing that was very innovative and new, and it seems very genuine too during that time, is like a lot of NFT projects that launched during that time had this thing called the FOMO curve, or I forgot what the other term for it is.
They're going to be putting that in university courses, the FOMO curve. Going forward,
yeah, the FOMO curve. I forgot exactly what it. Because it's like it's a pricing strategy where if you are the first few that mints, then you would get it cheaper than the people that mint later, and the price keeps going up as more people mint.
Bonding curve.
Bonding curve. Yeah, they were talking about bonding curves all the time during that time, and every single project did that. Like first 1,000 is going to be at 0.02, and then the second 1,000 is going to be 0.04. It keeps going up all the way to like 0.4 or 0.5 during that time. And then everybody was minting and losing money, and people got sick of it. And that was the point when BAYC decided to just screw the bonding curve. We're not going to do that. We're gonna do something new. We're just going to be a flat price NFT project at 0.08 for everyone, all 10,000 of them. And so that was pretty mind blowing, and it seemed like a move where they're showing like we're not greedy. We're not going to try to FOMO you into this project. Like if you love the apes, you love the product that we're selling, then you buy. And because that seems genuine, I decided just okay, sure, I'll give it a try on this project. And they didn't promise much. They only promised like a few things at first. I think merch was just one of them. They had this like toilet where you can draw on the toilet wall, where people just like I think they have like cooldown or something, and then each ape can just keep adding the pixels, adding colors into the pixels. Yeah, they didn't really have that much utility being promised to people. But yeah, because that lack of greed that I see in this project, I decided just sure, I'll give it a chance. If I lose money, then I lose money, you know. But yeah, that was the thing that really drew me in at that time.
Amazing. So it was more around the vibes and the non cash grabby vibes, and I guess the authenticity and the genuine sort of intent behind the founders that was the narrative for you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And man, and then talk to me about the honorary Bored Ape that you got dropped. Was that because you got Pranksy or Jimmy and then Pranksy in?
I actually got the honorary Bored Ape before that. I think the BAYC people were looking for people that had apes as their profile picture, and I happen to have the Sun Wukong ape.
Apes or punks? Gen Con. You're talking
Apes, random apes. It doesn't even have to be an NFT. They were just looking for monkey profile pictures from all over the place, and they were giving honoraries during that time. And I didn't even know they were going to send us an NFT about it. I thought they were just going to create this custom art just for me to use as my profile picture. I didn't know they were going to mint it and like send it over to my wallet and all that. But yeah, it was cool. I happened to have a Sun Wukong PFP that came from a PFP NFT project called 3D Punks. So during that time, 3D Punks were kind of a big deal. Yeah, I think a lot of the prices actually went up to like 5 or 6 ETH floor at one point. And so I had like the Sun Wukong, which is like one of the legendary kind of like NFT of that collection. So I was wearing that as my PFP, and then the BYC people noticed that and decided, hey, if we make you a custom PFP, would you use that? And I told them, sure, let's do it. That's it. That's the story. You know,
nice.
There's no other special story behind it. It's like, oh, hey, you want to use this custom PFP? I'm like, sure, let's do it.
No, that's cool. I always thought they were after the collection, but I had a look at the date. It looked like it was minted around 4th of May 21. So was that around the same time as when did Bored Apes drop? I thought it was like March or something, right?
Yeah, Bored Apes were minted in March and April. Yeah, so they minted the honorary apes later on. So they gave us the custom art like around March or even earlier than that, like February. They were giving us those custom NFTs to wear kind of like online, but they were just sending us images through Twitter. So there were no NFTs of like honoraries of that sort at that time. So they decided to just mint the NFTs after Bored Apes were successful. So that was like 2 months, right? Two months after mint.
Yeah.
That's when they minted the honoraries.
Yeah, because I think some of them went for some insane amounts, right? I think when they came out, everybody got a little bit of FOMO. Because I see Beanie's got one, and I think Art Chick got one.
Yeah, there were some controversies around those too, of how Beanie and Art Chick and some of those influencers actually denied the the custom arts that the BOIC team offered them, because basically they were doing the same thing they did to me, right? Like, hey, we're gonna make you a custom PFP. Would you wear it? And a lot of these people actually declined to wear it. They're like, I don't want any of your art, and they declined. And so they denied the art, did not use it as a PFP. But then when the minting of the honorary apes happened and the BAYC success actually boomed, and then they saw, wow, there was a 100 ETH sale on an honorary Bored Ape, that's when they started complaining on Twitter and asked for their honoraries to be minted as well. So before the 35, there were actually only 15 honorary Bored Apes. These 20 were actually the people that declined or ignored BOIC and then decided to kind of like call them back
Get the
because
fuck
now the
out.
value is really high. Yeah.
That's crazy. And they went ahead and did that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. So who, just out of curiosity, just name call them out. But so it was actually Beanie Art Chick was in that crew.
Yeah. There was a big controversy about that too. And Art Chick, as soon as she got hers, she sold hers.
Yeah, she flipped it. That's pretty dirty, but okay. That is crazy. I do remember some of that going on at the time, but that was such an insane time, man. It was kind of fun too, right? I mean, I didn't get any sleep, and it was just pretty intense at that time. I think Beanie was shilling a new project every week, and I was basically number go up.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, I guess, your NFT experience there, man, because I think last year was a pretty crazy year. I remember seeing you and Gab and Sip City and Arnold just tearing it up on Twitter. Every single new project sort of dropped. So what was your, I guess, what was your sort of take, and how did you start forming your, I guess, your influence in the space?
Honestly, I have no idea how my influence formed. People just started following me out of nowhere. I did not have like a social media strategy or plan, whatever. I think it was just one time when I think Pranksy retweeted me or something. And that's when the first blow up of followers happened. So wait, before that, I actually had like the punk blow up, the one that I told you about. So when I first bought my first punk, that was my first like follower blow up, and then people started following me and like kind of like engaging with my tweets, and then I just kept tweeting from that point on. And then one lucky day, Pranksy decided to just retweet me, and that's when I got like another. I think I got like 5,000 followers from that. So I went from like 5,000 to 10K with that one retweet. And I think from 10K on, and 10K during that time was actually a lot. It's not like today where it's so easy to just bought everything, and then almost everybody has like 10K now if you've done like a giveaway or something. Um, but back then 10K was huge, and so people were just blindly following everyone with 10K followers that had NFTs as their profile picture. And so I got that lucky break as well of like, okay, I had a PFP that is a CryptoPunk, and I had a 10K follower. So from 10K to 20K, it actually took like half the time that I did from 0 to 10K.
What was the tweet that Pranksy tweeted, retweeted?
I actually honestly don't remember, but I think it might have been something along the lines of, because I was buying a bunch of his he had this project called NFT boxes, and I think I was tweeting something about that. Because yeah, I was supporting like his entire project basically from the genesis all the way till the last box. I was buying Pranksy stuff. Lost money in almost all of them, but I got a retweet out of one of them, so maybe it's worth it.
If you're famous, insta famous. Mate, just out of curiosity as well, I thought Pranksy was rocking a punk at one stage, no? Or has he always been incognito with his own?
Always been incognito. I think his original PFP was an Avastar. It was an Avastar that's all red, right? The girl that he's using right now. was actually initially an Avastar, and then eventually people started creating like fan arts out of that Avastar, and then he kept changing the PFP of that same red girl all over the place, and now he's known as that red girl. But I think originally it was an Avastar.
Got it. But he used to frequent the punk Discord, right? I think I sort of remember him hanging out the punk Discord quite a lot.
He trades a lot.
Yeah.
He trades a lot of punks, along with Beanie as well. Beanie was there, and Beanie back then, his name was EC on the Cryptopunks Discord.
Yeah. Cool. Might have to go back and do a bit of digging, a bit of history. No, you're like a historian, man. I could sort of pick your brain. I think I was still new at that sort of stage and just doing it part time, right? But such a fun time. I mean, there's so many stories that come out of that sort of era. And then let's talk about your punk 8053. He's a really cool punk. I think the top hats are really sought after, and you've also got that dirty mustache, just like me. What made you choose him as, I guess, your profile picture? And I guess talk us through, I guess, the attributes that you selected, and I guess your selection process after being, flipping, buying and selling and flipping punks for a while.
I was actually making a bet on the rarity of the top hat and how it seems to be undervalued compared to all the other ones. Because I think it is the second rarest hat trait, second to the beanie. So I was thinking, okay, if the hoodie can go for that much, maybe the top hat will eventually be in season one day. Because I know people are kind of like having second thoughts about wearing a top hat for their profile picture because it doesn't seem as cool. They had like a small club, I think the classy club, the classy gentleman club for the top hat people, and there were very, very few people inside. And so one of the reasons why I decided to go with this one is just, okay, maybe one day it'll actually be cool, just based on rarity alone. And I love how the top hat that I got is very similar to Charlie Chaplin because it only has a mustache and a top hat. And so I decided just, okay, sure, why not?
So was there actually a separate classy group chat for top hats? Was like Daddy Seed Phrase in there and those guys?
Yeah, there is a top hat chat, but I haven't been there since like a year ago.
That's cool. Well, there's 115 in the collection. It's pretty rare, and I think the floor is sitting at about 125 ETH now. So it's almost like 2x floor. So good job. I guess what's in the bag for you now? I think you've got punks and apes. I see you have some meta heroes as well, and art blocks. I guess the question for you is, what do you like collecting, and I guess why do you collect?
Honestly, I just collect stuff that interests me, that excites me. And a lot of these projects actually do. And I think the space as a whole really excites me. Honestly, I have no idea which projects are going to succeed and kind of make it through the bear market, and then maybe 5 years or 10 years down the road. You don't know which of these projects are going to still be alive. And so just out of interest for the space and out of excitement of where this space is going to go, I know the technology of NFTs are going to be here for a long time, although some of the projects in NFTs are probably going to die. So I'm just collecting just for the sake of being present in the space at this current time, whether it's bull or bear. I kind of want to be around, whether I'm building or advising or collecting or basically doing anything that is NFT or Web3 related. The point is to learn and soak in as much as possible while not losing as much money if I could. So managing risks while being present, that's kind of like the goal for me. And so that when the bull run comes back around again, I'll be ready to kind of like pounce onto what I think could be the next big thing. So it's just a moment of experience and learning for me, and then see where it takes me.
Awesome. And what do you see as the next big thing?
I have no idea, man. The next big thing is probably just around the corner. A lot of the big projects are building right now, but not marketing themselves yet because they know during this bear market, liquidity runs dry and they can't really sell anything. So we don't know. I think whoever can come up with a way to seamlessly make NFTs go mainstream to people that don't understand crypto or Web3 could actually be the next big thing. Because right now, the learning curve is quite big for a lot of people that want to collect. Most collectors don't really want to go through the hassle of downloading a MetaMask, MetaMask seed phrase, and then with the whole risk of potentially getting scammed or hacked. That's just way too much for most people, and it's a lot of risk. And if they're putting money into this thing and they have no assurances that they're not going to get scammed or hacked, then it's just too much for them. So I think if people can solve that, that's when the next big mainstream bull run is going to happen.
Yeah. Are you advising a few projects at the moment?
Yeah, I'm actually involved in 2 NFT launch pads as strategic advisors in both. So I've been working with a few NFT projects that are being built in the background. So previously, I've advised projects from Indonesia like Karafuru and Mindblow On. Currently, I'm involving alongside Codex as a launch pad, Orange NFT. That's probably they might launch real soon. So they've been delaying because of the bear market. I'm also involved in a launch pad called Anima. And they have advised a few Web2 companies actually in Indonesia, and we're in the works of creating a new NFT platform as well, NFT projects as well, coming very, very soon.
Amazing. Well, I'll look forward to seeing them when they drop, man. And I guess when you look back at your NFT career, do you have like a good win that or a good lesson that you look back and go that's a life-changing move for me?
A life-changing lesson. I think
Or
if I were to look back and if I should have probably sold the top a lot of my NFTs. I think of things more of as a collector than as a trader, but that actually got me deep into all these wrecked and losses because of my excitement to collect. I diamond handed almost everything. I didn't trade a lot. I traded a few projects that I know I will buy back into, but that was definitely my weakness. I was not cashing out enough. Every profit that I got, I usually pour back into something else. And I know it's all just like house money. It's all just profit. So I'm very nonchalant about it because of that. But if I had taken out like a huge portion of it, that would have been significant.
Yeah, I think we're all guilty of that. And the hardest thing, I went through the same thing too. I'm probably like you. I'm more of a collector than a flipper. But I think when in the bull market, I think if you had conviction and you just held, you were rewarded, right? I mean, you can just look at Bored Apes. I mean, if you just held through that, I mean, if you sold it any early and tried to flip through that, it would have been really hard to chase. But definitely sort of in the bear market, you're like going, holy shit, I should have definitely sold out some of the tops, right? They were just insane. At some of the tops, but hindsight's your best friend, right? So you can't beat yourself up over that.
Yeah.
And when you look across, I guess the Twitter sphere, do you have like a favorite punk personality that comes to mind?
Favorite punk personality. I really like D's. D's Fi.
Why is that?
In terms of punk personality. He does a lot of podcasts every day. I think back then I used to listen to a lot of his podcasts. So he would interview a lot of different artists, a lot of different creators in the space, and it was just a good way to learn from other people. And yeah, he seems very likable too. Pretty fun guy. I mean, honestly, even Beanie was pretty fun. You know, during
Beanie was
last year.
fun, dude. He was
I
fun. He was
loved him.
entertaining.
I mean, I know he scammed a lot of people and like did a bunch of nasty things, but his persona in the space was actually really entertaining and enjoyable.
Yeah. I just yeah, it reminds me of some of the stuff that he was dropping when Loot came out. They came out with Bloot and he had that that gambling ape profile picture as well. I can't remember what that was called. But anyway,
yeah.
he had so much stuff, and I think just the amount of controversy that was going on there at the time was just it was just super fun. Yeah, but it's funny because I skipped it. It's funny because like I asked this question for every single punk that comes onto the show. Who's your favorite punk personality? Nobody says Beanie, right? I think you'll probably be the first one that's probably dropped his name in that element, which is good. Cool. And if you were to describe punk culture in a few words, how would you describe it?
Punk culture. Honestly, I don't even know if there is a punk culture. I think it's just so well, I guess, assimilated into the NFT space now that there is no distinct punk culture anymore. They were the OGs that started all, but then a lot of these punks actually ventured out and they became all these different things. So I don't know if there's like a specific subculture for the punk because they're all over the place now.
Mm. Well, let me ask you another question then. What do the Cryptopunks represent to you?
A timeless classic, I would say.
There you go. Cool. And if you could pass on a message to the next owner of your punk, what would you like to say to them?
I'm hoping that there will never be a next owner to my punk. But if there were to be the next owner to this punk, then I would say represent it well. Because basically this punk is my face now, and whoever I sell it to is probably going to be someone very dear to me. And not going to be someone random, because they're going to be representing something bigger than themselves.
Awesome. And Evan, any sort of final closing comments on your side? And I guess how can sort of people find you if they want to?
I'm on Twitter at Evan Tan. I mean, I'm on anywhere as Evan Tan. So I think you can just find me on Twitter at Evan Tan, and then you'll be able to find me elsewhere. Look for the top hat Charlie Chaplin with the pink background. That's me in all my social media.
Awesome. Evan, this has been super fun just reminiscing about the good old days with you, man. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And guys, it wraps up another episode for PunkCast for this week. And yeah, we'll see you next time.